Welcome to Nerd Church. We are jumping back into a fairly rapidly developing storyline as you all returned to the city of Chukip to get your pay. Informed Maktu of the developing kind of backstory that Potom has been pursuing as he tries to hunt down the technology that he gave birth to and has now been sucked into maybe some evil forces. I think we defined it as the supply chain of evil last time. So he is concerned about that, of course. You heard a fiery speech at the municipal council meeting, which led to them adopting the new punishment of becalming, a magical means of removing violent impulses from violent criminals so that they can return to be productive members of society. So that punishment is officially on the docket as available when today, actually, the magistrate arrives. So as a reminder, Chukip is a small enough city that it, in the empire, does not have a formal official court, but rather it has a traveling magistrate that serves the region. So about once a month, the magistrate arrives on a royal vessel, royal courier ship, and holds court for any criminals that have been detained over the last month in the jail. When you awake on this day, you are informed very quickly by some of the staff downstairs at the scratching post that the magistrate arrived actually in the wee hours of the morning, pre-dawn, and has already taken a room in one of the finer inns in the city, and that the assembly or the preparation for the court has already begun. And you would know that this means that outside the jail, or the Imperial Blades garrison, which is basically the jail and police offices combined, they are setting up a stage with a table where the magistrate will sit. They are also, bit by bit, bringing all of the current prisoners out and putting them in stocks on display in the public square, where they will await all day until the magistrate decides to hold court and pass sentence. So that process has begun, but is not yet finalized. And that's kind of what's going on today. That's sort of the big happenings of the day. So you are at the scratching post. Breakfast is being served and it comes with your room, so you can feel free to dig in and talk about what your plan is for the day.
And we haven't heard back from Advocate Avery yet, right? Even though we sent a courier?
You did not hear anything back from Advocate Avery, but at the end of our last session, you did receive a note back from Wari Wari Hanzo that contained a formal invitation to his estate. So that's basically your ticket up the hill. So you and anyone in your party would not get hassled by the Blades if you wanted to head up there and talk to him.
Talk to the advocate.
Talk to Wari Wari Hanzo.
Oh, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The breakfast at the scratching post this morning is basically like a hash. But it's sort of a fish-based hash. So it's lots of very thinly sliced spicy potatoes served crispy, and similarly fried fish, but diced up pretty small, and some spicy peppers with a real nasty kick to them, with sort of a cream-based sauce drizzled over the top. It's messy and spicy and got a little hint of acid. There's some lime in it. It's pretty good.
Salt, fat, acid heat.
Salt, fat, acid heat. It's got all
the good
stuff.
stuff.
Got all the things.
Has anybody seen the videos of people feeding little sea otters and the sounds that they make?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll play it for you later so that we're not YouTube or. But that's the sound that Potom is making.
Definitely.
as he's eating this hash.
Very happy sounds coming from that side of the table.
Freya is shoveling it into her mouth, and it is a little hot. So every once in a while, you'll see just like a slight little cold burst come out, so she can cool down. I can cool down my throat.
I like it.
Panda's
And-
kind of picking
Nature's
at it.
antifreeze
Yeah.
or antacid.
Yeah, right.
I like it.
Okay, well, do we need to contact the magistrate, or what do you think? What do you think we need to do, Pando, as far as, or not the magistrate, the advocate?
So we sent a courier to him, but we do have an invitation to go to Wadi Wadi Hanzo's estate. We haven't heard anything back from Advocate Avery. I'm not feeling super confident after the council meeting I just heard yesterday
Right.
on the fate of the people who are going to be judged.
And I also think that it's in my best interest to leave town as soon as possible.
Well, this is in town though. We're going up the mountain if we go to Wadi Wadi Hanzo's, right? We're going.
Yeah, Wadi Wadi Hanzo has an estate on the highest, at the hilltop, which is where all the noble estates are.
Right.
I've been up there.
Well, and we do have the mask. I think you should wear the mask wherever we go right now.
True.
Is Freya with us?
I'm Freya.
Yeah, you're all-
air. You mean
Air.
Air.
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah.
you're all four of you are together. You
Okay.
stayed
yeah?
at the
Jackson's
scratching
just
post.
Okay.
piloting air today.
I just couldn't remember if Air had like dock steeds to do, or if
Nope.
Air was still with us.
no.
No,
Oh, we
all
got-
present together.
Okay.
We did get the money from
Yeah, you got paid.
what's her name down at the docks, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
We did get
Nell the Knoll
Nell the Knoll.
paid you an additional 30 gold pieces.
Oh, okay. I think Air just has that. I don't. Did we split that up or did we?
I think Air just
Air
has
just
that.
took it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Such an Air thing to do.
I know.
I'll just hold this.
I'll just hold this.
Um.
I'll just feed my mysterious
Air likes money.
Air makes money.
So Panda's just kind of like externally processing like where she's at this point and figuring like Lily is still her primary reason. She also wouldn't mind leaving. She doesn't feel kind of a connection here like she once did. So she's not opposed to leaving the city either. She wants to do so after making sure Lily is not in the same position that she is in, whether that's coming with, whether that's going somewhere else and doing her own thing. So in Pando's head, I'm not saying this is actually true, but in Pando's head, like she's still feeling immense amount of guilt over the whole like kidnapping thing, even though she is convinced that she's convinced herself that it's leading to the greater good. But in some kind of a balance of the universe, she's really, really, really trying to do all she can to get Trillium free, because in her head there's just a little like karma balance there, fantasy karma.
Sure.
Karma's a part of our world. And so she would love to hear back from Avery, but because she hasn't, she's kind of thinking of going up to Wadi Wadi Hanzo and having a conversation like, what can we do? Is there anything we can do?
All right.
Any
Are we heading up
influence?
there then? Slurp up the rest of this hash.
Bottom will. Well, we'll wait until we leave the scratching post with the mask on.
Yeah.
Are you gonna come pot him?
I don't see how why a reason for me not to.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
All right,
Mayor's
so
on board.
so mask on, you are heading up the hill.
Awesome.
Very good.
Stick close when we get to the gate here. Is that invitation's gonna work for all of us?
I hope so.
I hope so too.
So
+4.
Right. So
Three.
the walk up the hill is not. It's not like there's a gate separating the lower levels of the city from the noble district, but there is a sort of a narrow path that goes up the hill, right, or it sort of runs parallel to the cliffside. So the noble district. The finest estates in the noble district literally sit on the face of the cliff overlooking the rest of the town, overlooking the rest of the city. and there's this broad dirt path that goes up around the edge. Basically goes from the southern edge up vertical and west, sort of wraps around the west side of the cliffs, and then proceeds into a then paved with cobblestones, paved street, set of streets that winds through the Noble District. So there are not necessarily gates to get past, but that path up is heavily trafficked by blades. So as you approach, what I would say is that with a full-blooded silver dragonborn with you and a half-drow, the fact that there are two seemingly full-blood elves in the group, you get looks, but they don't necessarily come straight to you and stop you. So you're not hassled on your way up the hill.
Okay.
But when you get up into the Noble District, you do know that up here, all the estates are walled estates. And there are, depending on the wealth and influence of the noble house, there are elaborate gates that, this is a gated community, basically, but everybody's individual house is like this. House Hanzo is not one of the most prestigious houses in the city. That would be House Kieran, probably number one, and a few others. But as you proceed away from the cliff's edge, you do see House Hanzo in the distance. The crest of House Hanzo is on the front gates. These are, unlike House Kieran, which has elaborately wrought iron and gold and other fine metals, beautifully presented gate with their crest done in wrought gold and silver. House Hanzo is attractive, but it is a wooden gate made of sort of a deep red wood, and it has its crest painted on the front. So nice looking, but not quite so
Gilded.
1,000 platinum
Right.
as
So sparkly.
House Kieran. And the crest of House Hanzo is a rabbit. It is a unique rabbit in that it has a single horn protruding from its forehead. It is not, bless you, it is not a creature you've seen here.
It's not a jackalope.
It's not a jackalope. No, it is
It's like a unicorn.
it is a bunnicorn.
Bunnicorn.
Yeah.
Oh.
Unicorn.
Familiar to Potom. Potom has seen these in real life, but for the rest of you, you just assumed that it was a mythical creature, or someone took artistic license with a bunny.
Well, okay. Well, I guess we'll knock on the gate.
Okay. As you pound on the gate, you see on the side of the gate a small postern window slides open, and you hear a voice from behind. The voice of an older elf say, "Yes, are you expected?"
Kind of. We have an invitation.
Yes, please pass it through.
Pen passes it through.
Okay, a little hand just plucks it out of your grasp. And probably 30 seconds later, somebody's been carefully reviewing it back there. You hear the gate start to creak open. And you see, stepping out from the gap, a sort of wizened old elf. He is probably, if his back weren't so bent with age, would be your height, Pando, but looks much closer to Potom's height at this point. He barely comes to the middle of your chest,
Yeah.
just very hunched over. Now, elves live a very long time, so to be this visibly old, this elf has got to be 700 to 900 years old.
Ooh.
It's hard to say with elves, but that's how it looks. at a glance. This is a very old elf. To the point where you can't really easily ascribe a gender. Just a really old elf is what you see.
Yeah.
And they sort of totter out and peer at all of you and say, yes, the master awaits at your pleasure. I will escort you to the drawing room. And turns on their heel and proceeds inside, not waiting to see if you follow.
Could I just do a perception check as we're coming in around?
Yeah, please. 3. Yeah.
And breakfast did you in.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, I'll tell you what you all see when you come in. I don't know that you notice anything extra, let's say, with a 3, but as you step through the gate, this is not a large estate, relatively speaking. So compared to some of the other noble estates out here, it's not sprawling grounds. There's, if you've ever been out in the country and seen how some rich folk who own horses live, right? It's not that.
Okay.
Right? This is more like here in Milwaukee, like Lake Drive property, right? Small parcel of land, but nice.
Nice house.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful home here. It's not massive, but it's much bigger than anything down in the Mercantile.
Yeah.
This is probably the equivalent of like a 5-bedroom home.
Yeah.
Multi-level, stone, very well crafted, you can tell at a glance. But what strikes you all, I think, is that the aesthetic of this whole estate is very modern. So the estate of House Kieran, for example, is extremely old money. It leans heavily, the
They're
aesthetic.
still Milwaukee rich.
Yeah, that's right. It leans heavily into the aesthetic of like old elven culture, statues of the ancient gods that the elves worshipped, like lots of oak leaves and this kind of stuff. And the Hanzo estate is like
Frank Lloyd
sharp.
Wright.
Yeah, it's sharp lines, modern. It's much more like Japanese gardens, like raked gravel, carefully, like bonsai tree kind of water features, koi ponds, that kind of stuff. But it's super minimalist. To you, Pando specifically, who've been around nobles, this is like cutting edge modern. That's the aesthetic here. May or may not scream new money, but it leans hard into a modern aesthetic. So not huge. You can see the entire estate the moment you step in to the grounds. You can see all 4 corners of the walls. But it's elegant, sharp, well cared for. And that little old elf is making surprisingly good pace towards the
He's
front
very
door.
spry.
Yeah, they are up the steps, the 4 steps leading up to a pretty broad sort of portico area, porch, and begin pushing on the heavy wooden doors that kind of move inward on very well-oiled hinges, move smoothly inward.
May I also make a perception check, and just things that, like sort of number of people, guards, defenses, possible exit.
Sure, a little perception check. Okay. Yeah, with a quick scan, what I will tell you is this. You don't see any guards visible on the grounds. You do see on the roof of the house, you notice somewhat concealed, not like actively hiding, but not standing in an obvious place. There is a single crossbowman leaning against sort of a, what would you call it, like a buttress on the house. The walls are probably about 8 or 9 feet high, and the kind of clean modern lines of them disguise something that you notice with this look, that the top edge of the wall is, you catch a shimmer. And essentially what's happening here is there is sharpened glass on the top edge of the wall all around. Not crushed glass, not like, jerry-rigged barbed wire. This is what looks like a single pane of continuous glass that is basically just makes the top edge of the wall a sharp edge all the way around. And then the last thing that you note is on the eastern wall, you're entering from the south, coming north, the gate is on the south of this sort of square estate. On the eastern wall, you see a much smaller door, passable by a single person. It's like just a normal size, like 7 foot high door with a rounded top. It looks very pretty and decorative, but also looks very solid from this side. And I will tell you, because of how you approached from the outside, that door is not visible from the outside of the wall. So that's a potential exit that is not visible from the outside.
Interesting.
So little old elf is buzzing their way up into the house. You're a good 60 feet behind them at this point. So you're going to need to hustle if you want to catch up.
All right.
Right.
Yeah.
My elf legs just kind of flow a little faster.
I think there's just a slightly awkward, we got to hurry and catch up with this person.
This little guy is quick.
So as you step into the house, again, the aesthetic inside the manor house echoes the exterior. Very modern for what this is. There's not a lot of ostentatious wealth presented, but everything here appears to be of extremely high quality. The other thing that you notice is there's been an intention here to display local craftsmanship. So this is the equivalent of if you I don't know if you've ever gone to like a state representative's office at the Capitol or something, and they've got clearly on display something from their home district, like a small business, and they're like, I always use O'Griff's, whatever.
Self-sealing stem bolts.
That's right. It's this kind of thing, but it's everywhere. The material that things are made of is wood that is harvested here. It's obvious that the Hanzos are a local family and have leaned into that heavily.
Can I ask a historical question? If the Hanzos are a local family and Pando is from here, wouldn't there have been some opportunity at some point for our families to maybe know each other, or maybe just be very familiar with them in a way that Courtney isn't?
Yeah, sure. 100%. So there are not a lot of noble houses in Chukip. Chukip's a small city, essentially on the edges of the Imperial Isles. Really, there are 5 noble houses of any significance in Chukip, and the Hanzos are just barely one of those. So you have certainly been exposed to most of the members of the Hanzo family, and while I will say you're not close personal friends with family or anything like that, you have known of or had acquaintanceship with members of the family many times over the course of your life. But for really until the last 20 years or so, they were not sort of in the top 5. They were not considered to be a noble house of any significance. They sort of maneuvered their way to this point. They suddenly came upon some wealth about 20 years ago. No one's quite sure how. but that propelled them into sort of this new position. So they went from essentially sitting on like the municipal council and being really involved in shipping and things like that to suddenly owning a legit estate and running in different circles. And that's where Wadi Wadi started to come to prominence. It was around the same time, and this is the real reason that you know of Wadi Wadi Hanzo, is that he was invited to debate on the floor of the Emperor's Senate. And that is a very specific honor that, depending on what you're into as a noble, it's a certain way to get the eye of the Emperor and get some prestige. In the real world, it might be the equivalent of like having an opportunity to testify in front of the Senate for not a bad reason.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but
Yeah.
being invited
Yeah.
to be an expert witness at a Senate hearing
Okay.
or speak on behalf of a bill that someone else is sponsoring. So you're not in a position of influence, but you suddenly are invited into a position of visibility.
Okay.
And coming back to Chukip after that, it was like, oh dang, look at this guy who got to like the Emperor literally saw you with his physical eyes. And you got to say your piece about whatever. Right. So that's what you know about the house. It is a small family. Wadi Wadi is the only son of House Hanzo. He has sisters. But this is a fairly patriarchal society, and it's not that they're unimportant, but he is the focus of the family at this point.
And if I knew this, having lived here, is it reasonable to think that over our fiery breakfast that I may have shared some of this information
Sure,
with
yeah.
my friends?
100%.
So that everyone just was kind of in the know.
Yeah, you give them the download
Yeah.
on the Hanzos. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the little old elf totters their way into a small, cozy, and well-appointed drawing room and invites you all to have a seat on some furniture and distributes essentially like an infused water. There's mint and something else in it. Not cucumber, but something adjacent to cucumber. Fantasy cucumber, we'll call it. And while you're sipping on that, refreshing yourselves, you have a moment alone as they disappear to go get their master.
All right. Well, Pando, do you have any idea what? As we're sitting alone, correct?
Yeah, I'm giving you a
space.
like a pause beat here.
Yeah.
Pando,
You've got some privacy.
Do we have a sort of agenda for what we're going to ask for up here, or do you have an idea of knowing the family and everything of what they could possibly do to help us with Trillium?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything that they can do, but I'm not convinced that there's anything that I can do with the magistrate, and so I'm just gonna ask. Obviously, they have influence, and this is where I kind of lean in. I'm like, y'all, this wasn't like this like 20 years ago. So something happened. They have some kind of influence, and I'm just interested if they would potentially use that in this situation.
Adam?
Also, if things go bad. Oh wait, no, that's right. I'm wearing a mask. Also, if things go bad.
The
Wow,
masks
that's
do
weird.
not change your voice. You may remember someone named Not Blarf
Oh yeah.
who made it very clear that the masks do not change your voice.
Amazing.
Oh, that's really funny. Well, then maybe Potham just does it anyway. Oh wow, that's weird. I didn't know it.
Hello,
that could
fellow
happen.
humans.
Is that still you?
If things go bad, don't go over the wall. There's a door. I'm not saying that things will,
No, good to know.
but just knowing us and knowing air.
Although Air has been suspiciously quiet today.
I just thought that she was giving us a break.
It was the breakfast was
Yeah,
still
right.
settling.
Right.
if things happen to go bad and air kills someone, I'm not saying that you will, just saying that you have. I imagine that the door is probably our best route to go.
But not over the wall.
Don't go over the wall. It seems that there's a trap of some sort.
Okay.
Good to know.
That is good to know, because I could throw you over the wall, Bottom, and
Yes, but
don't.
what about you, love? No, please throw me as far and wide as you can.
We tell no one.
But you going over the wall would definitely for sure get hurt.
It's in the midst of the gnome throwing discussion that the door opens, and two elves step in. One very familiar to you, which is Wari Wari Hanzo, the eldest son of this house, who you've now been working with for a short time. And right behind him is another elf, shorter, with darker hair and a very bookish look. Sort of small pince-nez glasses, not as hunched as the elderly elf you met earlier, but not a confident bearing to them. They're sort of collapsed in on themselves and almost instantly avoiding eye contact with all of you as he hustles in and takes a seat in a leather armchair on one side of the room. Wadi Wadi, on the other hand, throws his hands wide as he comes into the room and says, "Oh, my friends, it is a delight to have you in my home. I'm so grateful that you reached out and that you entertained my invitation. Of course, from all exterior view and for all intents and purposes, we are meeting on other business, which we will have to talk about later to ensure that our cover story holds true. I would not want to put any of you in any danger of being discovered, being associated with our mutual friend. But all present here can be trusted with secrets. Is that not correct, Advocate Avery?" And he turns to the bookish elf, who sort of quickly nods, but still fails to make eye contact with any of you. Wadi Wadi goes on and says, "Our mutual friend has informed me that you continue to provide excellent contributions to our efforts, which I am deeply grateful for. I know that the work we do has meaning, and while I pray daily that that work can come into the full light of day soon, because as you know, it is my belief that though our empire has gone astray, that we can bring it back into the light. In the meantime, we are deeply appreciative of your help in building our influence and making the right things happen. So your assistance in building our coffers is greatly appreciated."
Well, it's nice to be here. Nice to see you again. I know that we have some business to discuss.
Yeah. And Pando is like extra excited because Advocate Avery is here. And so she's kind of like trying to do like one of these and get like Advocate Avery's attention. He
Make a persuasion check.
Okay.
You're fangirling it out?
Yes, because I thought we were going to have to figure out a way to this person, and this person is here. Also, what am I checking?
Persuasion. Make a persuasion check.
22. I got a B?
That is a natural 20.
It means I'm super persuasive,
Super
right?
persuasive. So, I think your sort of non-threatening warmth and obvious enthusiasm disarms this sort of anxious elf, and you manage to catch his eye. And after a moment, this is all very non-verbal, but you just sort of send these vibes of like, "You're fine, it's fine."
Yeah.
And he seems to relax a little bit, and
Unclench.
Yeah, and even manages to speak to you. And just
he's easily you.
even manages to speak to you
Hard to do
and
in
just
a pop
says,
voice.
just says, "It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance."
Same.
And at that point, Wadi Wadi jumps in and says, "Ah, yes, of course. So, Advocate Avery, a longtime friend of mine now, and I were meeting for lunch, and he happened to mention that he had received a note from someone. I received a note on the same day from that same someone, and it seemed to me serendipitous, and I thought, why not get all of us together and talk about how our mutual interests could be pursued? With that, I have much to talk about and things I would perhaps ask of you or invite you to be involved in. But first, my friends, let me serve you. What brings you here? Why did you reach out, and how can I and perhaps Advocate Avery be of service?"
So, Pando kind of goes through, what they overheard at the council meeting and how that really worried her, because she currently has it under good authority that there is somebody who is about to meet their fate with the magistrate today, and she doesn't think it's going to go well because they're not an elf. And they've been blamed for something that they did not do. And so, to be honest with you, I'm really hoping that they could get some representation, that we could get them out of there somehow. I can't speak to the other people who are going to be on trial today. I would venture to think that a lot of them may actually be innocent, but I'm here for one person specifically,
Okay.
and to get some help.
So as you are talking, Wadi Wadi at several points nods knowingly, as if he's sort of aware of a lot of the things that are going on, and his face gets much more serious as you're talking, and he says, "Indeed, this is troubling. Several of my people were at the municipal council meeting, and the reports that I have heard are deeply disturbing. These greeters of the dawn and their disgusting racist rhetoric have no place in the empire that we are trying to craft. I have only just heard of this becalming. It was mentioned by some when I visited the capital city, but I don't know a great deal about it."
Is it like a magical charming of some way?
It is something to that effect. But what disturbs me most, friends, about this becalming is that it seems to be entirely under the ownership, shall we say, or management of the Greeters of the Dawn. They claim to be the only practitioners of this specialized art and make a great deal of promise as to what it can accomplish, but without much evidence of how the technique was created, where it comes from, what the long-term impact is. And this is where Advocate Avery actually pipes up again, and he says, and perhaps most disturbing of all, they claim that it can only be done to non-elves, that the process doesn't work on full-blooded elves. This seems possible, I suppose. I am no sorcerer, but this empire is founded on principles of all laws applying to all within the emperor's sight. It does not align with legal precedent. And this, as he starts getting into kind of the nerdy legal stuff, his voice picks up a little bit of energy. And I'm not going to act this out, but he starts citing legal documents.
Oh, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, and he's talking about founding texts of the empire, and even goes on to quote passages that cite the Dawn Emperor himself, speaking on these ideas that all intelligent beings within the sight of the dawn or within the light of the dawn should be held to the same laws, things like that. And he goes on to say, these greeters of the dawn are twisting the holy and just words of the Dawn Emperor from the founding of our empire. It is deeply inappropriate, but there is great political weight behind it.
Just going to the practicality of how the calming is done, though. From anything that any of you know, it's not like it's not an operation, like a physical operation. There's some sort of other process that happens. Do you know?
Truly do not know.
Yeah.
Wari says, we have not seen this process firsthand, nor have I seen anyone on whom it has been performed. I only heard rumors while I was in the capital. But this citizen, Fane, Rostero Fane, claims that he and some of those in his party can accomplish the task here in Chukip, so I must imagine that it doesn't require any great ritual or at the very least, it's something that they can do wherever they are, a power that they have learned or possess themselves. It is, frankly, the ambiguity of this practice that unsettles me so deeply. There are many claims about what it can accomplish and achieve, but what are they not saying?
Right. Well, I think we can make an assumption already. An assumption can be made that it's some type of control tactic that's being used. That it's definitely underhanded. There is there's another agenda that's happening.
And it's just going to cause a greater divide between the elves and the non-elves.
This intention is clear to me. The Greeters of the Dawn are zealots and xenophobes. They want nothing more than pure-blooded elves holding an iron fist over everyone else in the Empire. It is a backwards and anti-progressive approach. It is the antithesis of everything that I stand for. And my dear friend Avery stands for as well. He, alone among any of the advocates here in Chukip at least, has stood up and defended non-elves here in the city. Sadly, it is an uphill battle, but in this case, your friend or acquaintance, this person you are hoping to assist, perhaps Avery could be of service. And at this, he looks over to him, and Avery sort of collapses back down into himself at this point and says, I might certainly try, but in this environment, it will be, I won't say impossible. There's no point in trying if it is, but this visiting magistrate is notoriously conservative. And with as many Greeters of the Dawn here, everything we heard at the municipal council meeting, there is a great deal of momentum. I feel I will be screaming into the wind. But I am willing to try.
Do you, with your memory of texts and cases, do you have any knowledge of a time when it was successful for a non-elf who the magistrate was judging?
There have been times when clear physical evidence was presented, irrefutable evidence, but generally speaking, in cases where it comes down to witness testimonies, the testimony of a full-blooded elf will always take precedent over that of a non-elf. In this case, this Trillium, you said, is there any physical evidence to present to suggest that they were not present or did not assault this merchant?
No, but there's no physical evidence to prove that they did, other than the word of somebody.
Indeed. Well, I wish I could give you better news, but in my experience, that will be plenty to convict in the eyes of a magistrate. Most of those that are already in the stocks will be assumed guilty. There is a great trust in the Emperor's blades.
What if we came in at an angle for like reform? That I would take as a full-blooded elf. I would take this tabaxi. Trillium's a tabaxi, right?
Yep.
I would take this tabaxi and work on reformation. And if this tabaxi wasn't reformed in a certain amount of time, that then they could be reevaluated by the Greeters of the Dawn.
This is an interesting idea and not unheard of. However, the precedent would be one of, it would be, and excuse the term, a matter of ownership. Historically, the only time that things like this, requests of such a nature, have been accepted are when they are put forward by the owner of the contract on the person in question. Who owns this Trillium's contract?
I don't know if we know that information.
Meeks. Meeks owns
Oh,
the contract.
All the tabaxis?
Well,
All of them that work at the scratching post.
Yeah.
Oh,
Meeks
okay.
owns the scratching
Just like-
post. And
okay.
so all of the employees, all the tabaxi employees at the scratching post are indentured servants who work for Meeks. Well, not all of them are indentured servants, but most of them are. Some of them have bought out their contracts over time.
Yeah.
Meeks is one of the rare merchants in the city that actually pays down their debts over time and has had people buy out of their contracts.
Okay.
But Lily and Trillium are both still under paid contracts,
Yeah.
indentured servitude contracts.
So what would Meeks have to do?
Well, with her permission and a signed writ of acceptance, I could present the case for protective custody and reformation to the magistrate on her behalf. Or should she wish, she could appear in person, though that is not necessary. There would be likely a stiff fine associated with that punishment, paid by Meeks herself. But should she be willing to take on that fine and willing to take responsibility for this Trillium, it's not unheard of. Again, in this climate, it may be difficult, but it is not unheard of.
Okay.
And at this, Wadi Wadi chimes in. My friends, I think we must brace ourselves that the events of today may be a difficult symptom of the deeper problem. I expect to need a drink at the end of the day. However, let us take days like this as motivation to fuel our fire to change this empire, transform this system to something better than it could be. With your help, I could continue to build the influence I need to get the Emperor's eye on Chukip and the problems that we see here and the broader problems. I don't believe the Emperor truly embraces the ideas of these Greeters of the Dawn. But we have so many barriers between us and his ear. We need coin, we need influence. And with your help, we could make it happen.
So that kind of leads us to another question that I possibly had for you. If would there be a job out of town that you would maybe consider using us for? We are looking to possibly relocate. It's quite a small town, and as you can see,
Yes.
I tend to.
and as you can see, I also tend to.
Yes, my neutral elven friend. Indeed, I'm glad you asked, because it just so happens that I do have a few jobs that need doing. Jobs that would be on the books, above board. One of which certainly involves you departing the city, and even the island, in fact. There is a shipment of rare dyes that I have recently purchased as an investment opportunity. These dyes will arrive here in Chukip on the morrow, and shortly thereafter, once they have been approved and sorted by my staff, they will need to travel to the mainland. I need that shipment to arrive safely, and so I am looking for a team of, I don't prefer the term mercenaries, but guards to escort the shipment. Piracy is not unheard of between here and the mainland. There are, of course, natural hazards. You would need to travel by ship for a day and a night to reach the mainland. When you arrive, the goods would be loaded onto a wagon, and you would travel with them to a trading post in a Tabaxi town. It's called Featherwand. Protect the cargo, see that it arrives at its required destination safely, and that you are paid in return. Bring the payment back to me, and as payment for this, I will reward you with 10% of the take, which, by my estimate, should be about 100 gold for each of you.
Yeah.
Cannot say there's no risk to this, but it will get you off island for a few days, and it will certainly be beneficial to me and help fill the coffers so I can do what I need to do.
Is there any reason that Air wouldn't agree to it or wouldn't be able to leave?
No. As far as I know, Air doesn't have anything tying her to.
I picture Air being like 100 gold. Yes.
100 gold. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
We're
Air's.
making 110.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
This Tabaxi town you speak of, are the Tabaxi free?
Well, are any non-elves in the Empire free? The mainland is a different world. While I myself have not traveled extensively there, life among the vassal tribes is more free than here for them.
Okay.
In that part of the mainland, the Tabaxi are the majority, and under the Emperor's guidance, they essentially govern themselves.
Did you ever talk to Meeks about how much it would be to buy out Lily's contract?
It was 1,000, but we don't know how much she's paid toward it, right?
Correct.
That would be worth asking for Trillium and for Lily. At
Yeah.
this point,
And why don't we just make a deal, Wally Wally Hanzo, to pay out Lily's contract so that she can come with us,
Yeah.
and then we'll just owe him instead of owing Meeks.
Yes.
I didn't say that out loud as
No.
I just was planting that as a seed in your head.
Sometimes when we suggest things, he'll be like, he looks to the side and he's like, well, and he didn't do that.
Well, I'm trying to if you're going to present something like that, I wanted to think about how he might react.
Well, so I think it would be important for us to know this information. That we
Right.
may have to do a little information gathering before we can,
Or is it reasonable to ask how feasible it would be if we went to Meeks and asked how much, was left on the contract? Or are we thinking talk to Wadi Wadi Hanzo first to see if he wants to buy it out without our communication directly with Meeks?
I mean, I think that we just need to, before we present anything anywhere, I think we need to information gather.
Like how much?
how
is
much
actually...
things would be, and just so that
Okay.
we have some kind of foot in the game here,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah. I
So,
don't know how much
after
I paid
this-
for 1,000.
Silent pause,
Mm-hmm.
this
We
pregnant
were-
pause.
I think that there was a moment where we were all like,
Right.
So I think it's at this moment that Wadi Wadi speaks up one more time and he says, if this task is not aligned with your wishes or needs, there is another, a little different. Doesn't involve travel to the mainland. But a friend of mine, a member of the Ito family, and you would know, Pando, that the House Ito is another of the more prominent noble houses here in Chukip, probably second to House Kirin. He's the eldest son of House Ito, a childhood friend of mine, Sensen. Sensen found himself in an embarrassing situation, shall we say. He made an ill-advised purchase of some merchandise that is not recognized in the Empire. And now finds himself in the uncomfortable situation of regularly paying blackmail money to an individual. He has very little experience in the wider world and has asked me for help in clearing this matter up. My efforts to reach out and simply pay to make this go away have been met with silence. But perhaps the more streetwise among you could help make contact with this dealer who is pressuring my friend and clear up the situation. He is happy to pay to make this go away as long as it goes away permanently.
Does that like translate directly to charisma, or
Yeah.
yeah?
I mean, possibly.
I
There
mean,
would be
So
a
I've
lot
got
of ways
I've
for
got
you
a
to
lot of
approach.
that. That's one of
Yeah.
the first things I realized
Yeah.
like right away.
This is
Very
so.
charismatic.
This is probably something that's much more up Air's alley than any of the rest of ours.
Definitely. And
you
I think
know.
Air would know there's several ways to handle a situation like that.
Right.
You might sweet talk them.
Right.
You might just find their body floating somewhere later. I mean, there's different ways to clear up a blackmailer.
Could we discuss and send you a message? And,
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
And
Do you know what kind of payment is involved with this one?
I would have to discuss the reward with my friend, but let me say he's highly motivated at this time to make this go away. And I think perhaps the way we would handle it is that I would pay you so that he owed me a favor. That favor might be more valuable to me than the money. I would say a very similar payment to the other job. I was thinking 400 or perhaps 500 gold pieces, depending on how quietly it can be handled.
That's not always our forte.
Yes, well, you are capable, if not always discreet. And speaking of discretion, I do think, though I enjoy your company a great deal, that it is time for us to say goodbye. If you spend any more time in the estate, talk will circulate.
Yes.
So, as a follow-up, our formal discussions today have revolved around the possibility of you escorting my shipment of dyes to the mainland, and you are considering the contract.
Yes.
Very good.
Very good. Okay, thank you so
we
much.
will send a messenger with our answer.
Excellent. And Advocate Avery pipes up just quietly. If you speak to Meeks, here is the document she would need to sign. And he pulls an already created document out of a sheaf of papers in this big leather satchel.
Awesome.
Grabs a quill pen and just quickly fills in a couple spaces that he's left blank. He's basically got a bunch of legal forms with him all the time. And passes it over to you. So there is one more blank to fill in there, which is the amount of the fine, which would be determined by the magistrate. So essentially right now, what you would need to be, if you're going to ask Meeks for this before court is in session, you would be asking her to sign a blank check.
Okay.
So with that, you are escorted off of the estate of House Hanzo, and the little old elf sort of gives you a shaky wave as you depart, and they shove shut the gate behind you, which has sort of a loud thunk as it locks into position. You are now standing outside House Hanzo in the Noble District.
Okay.
Just because that's what Bottom does. Where that small door is located, is there a chance that Bottom can just
Peek at it.
locate where the outside of that door is?
Sure. Are you going to walk over and like literally look for it, or are you just trying to look from a distance? To
I think
see
I'm
if
just
you can
trying to look
spot
from
it?
a distance
Okay, then make a perception
of
check.
just kind of understanding and knowing where it would be.
Okay, yeah. Make a perception check.
19.
Yeah, it is well concealed. So while you from this distance cannot see the physical door itself, like you don't see a seam or anything like that, what you do see are places where some of the like growing things on the outside of the wall. This is not a wall that's covered in ivy or anything like that. It's fairly well cared for or groomed back. But there's little bits of lichen and things like that that grow on this wall, and you can tell that some of it has been disturbed from time to time. So you've got a pretty good beat on it, and it lines up in your head to where that door was.
Okay.
So you feel like you could spot it from the outside. You don't see a mechanism or anything like that, but
There's time for that.
yeah. But yeah,
This
you've
is
got
just perception, not investigation.
Right.
yeah. If you want to get up close and feel around, that's a different story. But
I'm sure I've got a tool for it.
Well, we don't want to be too conspicuous. We don't want to.
Right.
We need to head down. Head down the hill.
Yeah.
all right, heading down the hill.
Back to the scratching post.
All right, so you make your way down. At this point, it is still fairly early in the morning. I want to say just after 9-ish, so the sun's still rising. You got up pretty early and headed up to Wadiwadi's. As you come down the hill, you can see, because the Blades Garrison, so the jail area, is fairly near the uppermost part of the Mercantile District. And as a reminder, this is a very solidly built but sort of squat stone building. It looks like a mini fortress shrunk down that accounts for about a city block of this part of the city. And in the sort of open space in front of it, there's a sort of a dirt square about 2 street widths wide, right out in front of the jail. And there you see, still in construction, a sort of low stage being built out of wood and assembled, and tables are being brought out, and benches are being brought out for what obviously will be spectators. And you also see 11 sets of stocks arrayed out in front of the jail. And they are not currently full, but there are a few people in the stocks already. The 3 people that you see already in the stocks are, first of all, Trillium, the Tabaxi, what appears to be full-blooded elf dressed in fairly ragged clothing, and Nips.
Nips.
Does Freya giggle?
I don't know.
No, I don't, because I want nips. I don't want anyone else to have nips, and I'm actually kind of worried about nips. So let's go. Let's go on over. Let's
Okay.
go over. Gotta go over and check on Trillium, and just sort of slyly. Can I do an investigation check? Are there, like, as far as guards watching?
Sure, do a
guards that are
perception
there?
check.
Are there people gathering? Because I mean, it sounds like it's a town event where like
Oh, it
people are
is.
coming to
It
it.
is a
and-
town event.
3.
Yeah, so you're not probably spotting anything special, but what everybody can see is this is the equivalent of if you got to an event hours before it was going to start.
Yeah.
Like if you were going to an outdoor concert and you showed up like before the band even gets there, like it's just the roadies setting up the stage.
Sure.
The event staff are like putting out chairs. So there's a few spectators here, but they're the kind of people that have literally nothing to do,
Yeah.
and it's just curiosity. So they're like watching people set up the stage and like making dumb comments. There are some not very nice people who have showed up to kind of poke fun at the folks in the stocks or throw insults their way. But generally, there's pretty much just workers here and a few blades who are keeping an eye on the prisoners.
Sure.
And if you stand there for a moment or two, shortly another prisoner is brought out of the jail and placed into the stocks next to Nips. And it is another tabaxi, someone that you don't recognize.
Go down and ask Nips what they're there in for.
What Nips is in for?
Yeah, ask Nips what's going on.
Don't.
I want to know
I
what's
thought
going on.
that you hate Nips.
No, I
Didn't
hate
you?
Nips.
Don't you want her to be
No,
here?
no. I don't want anybody to be here. I want to know what's going on with Nips. I want to know what's going on with Nips. One of you go down. I
One
don't.
second. Just time out quick. Nips is the one that runs the.
Marketplace.
Yeah.
Nips
But I
sells
hate-
knives.
Okay.
Yeah.
That I hate.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
You've had
but-
several run-ins with Nips.
I'm really generally confused because I figured that this is the fate that you would want Nips to be in.
No, I want revenge myself on Nips. And so if Nips goes and gets something out of it, I'm not going to be able to ever have my revenge on Nips.
There will be no closure.
No, it's Nips is mine. Nips is not theirs. So we have to figure out what's going on with Nips here. And possibly, does this have anything to do with the fencing of our materials?
Back
We need to
in
know.
Summerwind, we had a saying that the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and so ultimately, if this is Nips's fate, that's your closure, correct?
I want to know what's going on. why Nips is down there.
Okay. I got it. Illogical dragon. I shall go and figure out for you what the deal is with your friend.
It's not
We're
my
not-
friend. My not
Right.
friend.
Excuse me.
Nips
Does
is not my
Nips
friend.
know me? I feel like we had a tussle together.
No, Nips knows air.
Right.
And
but
Nips
the
knows me.
first time, didn't
but-
I try to cast a spell and it went
I
around?
might be the only one that Nips doesn't know.
I
I,
feel like
think that you two were
were like
there
the first
You were with
initially.
me. You
Yeah.
were with me
Yeah.
when it all
And air.
happened.
Yeah.
And
You had a
then
very
air.
direct problem with
But
Nips.
also,
Yeah.
I'm wearing
you
a
tried
mask.
to help,
Yeah.
and Nips
So now I'm
saw.
on Nips' poop list
Yeah.
by proximity.
Air has done literal dealings with Nips.
Uh-huh.
Air is the one that you sent after.
Oh wait,
you
and I
couldn't
was with
send
Air
out.
Yeah, but you're
when that
wearing
happened.
your
But I'm
mask.
wearing the mask.
But you're in
so-
the mask, yeah. So, so you're the only one that would be unrecognized by
Yeah.
Nips currently. If any of the rest of you approach, and you're not currently in line of sight of Nips.
Okay. Yeah, I'm hanging by the wall, kind of behind. I don't want Nips to see me.
Okay.
All right, I guess I'll go down, and I'll make it look as if I am inspecting
Cheering.
merchandise.
Yes.
So I'll go up to the tabaxi next to Nibs first, and take a step over. Hey, you, tabaxi. What are you in for?
So Nips kind of Nips looks dejected and a little defeated. Nips also looks a little beat up. Like you can see obvious bruises on her face. And she doesn't respond for a moment, but then looks up at you and sees that you're an elf and sort of flinches a bit and says, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Was caught selling something that was not right to sell. It was wrong, and I'm sorry.
What were you selling? I just want to know because I'm looking for people. And if you're easy to get out in spring, then I've got somebody at a discount.
Help me understand what you're trying to suggest to Nibs.
No, that I could get her out of her situation if she just tells me what she did.
Okay. Make a deception check.
Oh, I'm really good at those. A 4. I Brett Favre'd it. We could go to the Super Bowl or... Nope, that's an interception.
Nips lets out sort of a long, almost hissing sigh and just kind of casts her head down again and says, "There's no getting Nips out of this one. It's going to be bad."
Okay, well, so if there's no getting you out of it, what'd you do? Other than you sold something you shouldn't have sold.
Now, suddenly Nips gets angry. Like a flash of temper. It wasn't me anyway. It was that foul little drow. And if I ever get out of here and catch her, I'll cut her tongue out and feed it to her. She deceived me, fed me hot merchandise, and she knew this is vengeance and I don't know where it comes from, and that's what makes me furious. But when I catch her...
Oh, bad kitty.
Kitty.
Okay, well, seems like you might be too
Feral?
hot to get out of this situation.
After
This
that
may
little...
be your mangy friend.
After that little outburst, she sort of just collapses again and just looks deflated.
I will continue down the line, inspection-wise, and then disappear into the crowd.
What about Trillium?
Oh, yeah, I guess I'll stop and
Update Trillium.
be sure the Trillium is in good health. And
I mean, Trillium looks less beat up than Nips. Trillium's been in jail for a few days, though, but doesn't look to be in good shape. I mean, everybody on this line looks terrified. Looks like they haven't had a lot of sleep, and looks pretty hopeless.
Wish there was
I
something we could do.
return to my friends and inform them of what I found out.
Okay.
Yeah. Nips is going down for our deed.
Right.
So it seems like you've gotten your revenge.
No, well, thanks. Thanks for pointing that out, dear one. Whose name shall not be spoke. I know. No.
So let it be done. Why do we have to save her?
What?
I kind of want to save everybody.
She is mine.
Oh.
Horrid little cat.
Completed contracts for people like you. I would like it to be this way, but no, not that way. Let's make it more difficult than it needs to be. Let Nips be.
There may not be any other choice, but I'm not happy about this.
But also, she clearly has it out for
Air.
a
Yeah.
friend of ours
Yeah.
by just letting nature take its course. We save our friend from any... because you and Nips haven't quite Anyway, I say Nips is not our problem. Apparently Trillium is our problem.
Trillium is our problem, but okay. No, what you're saying is right, but the situation does not live by draconic clan law. Nips should be mine and is rightfully mine. However, I get it. I get it. I know what you're saying. I know what you're
And
saying.
ultimately, in the realm of our problems, I've created a technology that is now going to be used as a weapon to change the course of everything within the world. So your revenge on Nips is on page 17 next to do we eat too much garlic as a society?
I know, but then why are you so worried about it?
I'm not.
You're
What
worried
I'm
about
worried
the
about
things
is
in
why you're so worried about it.
You don't have to worry about me worrying about it.
It's her cultural day.
Yeah. Yeah.
She needs it.
So what are we
Is
going
there
to do
another
about this
cup?
Trillium?
Is there another cup?
Yeah. Should we pause for just a moment?
Yes.
Sure.
You have observed what there is to observe outside of the garrison. Where are you headed now?
I think back to the scratching post, right? That was our initial trajectory.
Okay.
I'd like to go have a chat with Meeks.
Okay.
Because time's running out. This all happens this afternoon.
I think you would be able to pick up pretty easily from sort of the rumor mill, or maybe Wadi Wadi Hanzo would have even sent to you. It has been announced formally that this will be a dusk court.
Okay.
So at sunset, the proceedings will officially begin.
Okay.
So you have quite a few hours
Sure.
to kill, or to do things, before this all hits.
Okay.
The magistrate arrived very late, or rather very early in the morning, and so is resting. When you arrive at the scratching post and inquire about Meeks, you are informed that Meeks' primary offices are not here at the scratching post, but rather in the rooms above another business that she owns, which is a stationery store that is operated by a tabaxi named Chetney.
Oh. Well, we know where that is.
Yep.
Yeah, you certainly do. So you can head that way if you would like.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go talk to Meeks.
I really wish I remembered the name of that shop.
Oh,
I might
I'm
have
sure.
it right here.
Yeah, I'm sure I have it on my notes.
It's possible I have it in my notes somewhere as well, but oh yeah, Perfect Papers.
Perfect papers.
So you are headed back to Perfect Papers. And when you arrive, you're greeted by Chetney, who has had the shop open for an hour or so. And when you ask about Meeks, he directs you to a set of stairs.
No, Chetney has a little worker, little gnome worker.
Yes, he does, but
Oh.
Chetney is the one who has opened the store today and
Yeah.
greets you. And Chetney directs you to a set of stairs, which is next to sort of the front desk area. And as you proceed up the stairs, you walk out into the entire top floor of this building. So you know that the bottom floor is a fairly respectable size storefront with all the paper and quills and inks and things on display. This is a nice higher end store. And then you also know there's a fairly substantial back room to that store where you've been and where some of the forgery that you purchased took place, as well as different storage. So it's a good square footage. The entire top floor of the building is all a large, lavishly done office. open concept. There is a huge mahogany desk sort of centered against the far wall as you come up the stairs and into the area. There is a massive rug covering the center of the wooden floor that is very expensive because it is a product of the Minotaurs, actually. Interestingly, the Minotaurs have a matriarchal society, and it's the men who do the weaving, and they often weave just really elaborate rugs, tapestries, things like that, and they are woven from the hairs of beasts that they hunt on the mainland. And this is one of the biggest you've ever seen. It's easily a 24-foot wide rug. Probably cost over 1,000 gold pieces. It's spectacular. This is an office meant to impress and add credibility to the person who is in it. And you see a very well cared for tabaxi sitting behind the desk. The two of you who are local have seen this person before. Meeks is a prominent figure in Chukip. She is nearly fully gray. She has a bit of a her build is like that of a black cat, but she's a little older, and so she probably was like a pure black, like night black tabaxi at one point. But as she has aged, her coloring has shifted towards a more charcoal gray. She's very slender, and she has one little white patch just behind her right eye that is barely noticeable. It's almost like a beauty mark. And as you step in to the room, she looks up, and her very sharp and intelligent, very green eyes make eye contact with each of you individually. And you hear sort of a background purr as she says, guests, what brings you to my offices today, and how can I serve you? And she stands and steps out to the front of her desk.
Since we've spent so much time at the scratching post, and since Lily is my best friend, there have been reasonable opportunities for us to have run into Meeks before? Or is she truly never at the scratching post?
I mean, she comes through the scratching post,
Yeah.
but you've not directly engaged with her.
Okay.
It's possible she might recognize you as a regular patron, but you've never had a conversation with Meeks.
Gotcha. So Pando approaches Meeks, realizing that this is a very important person for the decisions in both Trillium and Lily's future. And so she is trying her best to not show as anxious as she really is, knowing that like the trial is on the horizon, and like Pando essentially in the back of her head is like, my whole like all of my community is about to be like imploded by this. Be calming. Like the writing is on the wall, so to speak. So so Pando approaches Meeks first and says that she's very happy to meet Meeks because she's been enjoying the scratching post for many, many years, and it's a pleasure to meet her.
A regular patron. Excellent. We are deeply appreciative of your custom. In fact, I thought you looked familiar. A friend of
Lily.
Of our Lily.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Yep, and my friends and I have been enjoying a little staycation in one of your lovely rooms as well over the last few days.
Delightful. I'm so pleased.
So I wanted to talk to you, Meeks, about a couple of things. There's somebody who works for you who is very loyal to you, who is actually set to be on trial today. I'm sure you've heard the magistrate is in town. And we know that this person did not commit the crime that they are accused of. And all this person would like is to be able to return to life as they knew it. But in order for that to happen, we need your help.
This is someone who works for you.
Yeah, that's my understanding, is that Trillium works at the Scratching Post with Lily, right? That's what I had in my notes.
Yep. So as soon as you say what you said,
Yeah.
her demeanor changes.
Okay.
And her head tilts just a little bit, almost as if she's caught off guard that a full-blooded elf is talking this way. And she... Well, make an insight check for me,
Okay.
if you would, please.
Yeah. $14.
She seems anxious to hear a full-blooded elf talk so openly about this situation, and it seems like she's questioning whether it's safe to talk to you about this. Right? That's kind of the
And
the
so-
vibe you get.
I'm feeling that. And so I just kind of pause and I look at her and I say, Lily is my best friend, and everybody who works for you is a part of my community. And so we're just here out of the interest of the safety and well-being of somebody in our community. So, but we need your help. So,
I want you to make a persuasion check. You're attempting to put her at ease right now.
I would also like to
I'm not persuasive.
assist in the
7.
persuasion check
Okay.
by pulling off the mask
Okay.
and being like, she speaks the truth, that she is accepting of different cultures.
I think you can see with all of us here, and all of us take an interest.
So roll your persuasion check with advantage.
Does that mean roll it twice?
Roll
Yeah.
it twice
Thank
and tell
you.
me the higher roll.
Okay. 16 is the higher.
Okay. So two things happen.
Okay.
First of all, she is very surprised and shocked when the very generic looking, full-blooded, blonde elf
Who's just leaning against
Right.
the door opening that is
suddenly
like,
pulls off his face and becomes a 3-foot-tall rock gnome.
Freya.
Her fur stands up on end, her back arches, and it takes a full 10 seconds for her to just calm down.
Sounds like my cat.
And then she gets a very pensive look on her face for a moment, as if she's remembering something. And then she looks back to you and says, "It seems you are among the minority of elves in the Empire who see the truth of our situation. And if you are a friend of Lily's, and it sounds like at least care for poor Trillium, I'm grateful to extend what help I can. However, you must know that my position, though privileged, is delicately balanced. I have managed to carve out a place here of relative safety and comfort, and I do what I can for my people here in Shakib. But I am a tabaxi in a city of the Empire. I am well aware that all of this could disappear very quickly.
what if we could make an introduction? I don't make any promises, but we happen to know a noble and a noble house that maybe a partnership between the two of you could be beneficial to both.
Well, I have business dealings with all the noble houses here in Chukip, and I like strengthening relationships. That's how I've survived and thrived this long. So certainly I am open to that idea. I must ask, what is it you specifically hope to achieve? I hate to say this, but poor Trillium is
Not in a good position.
doomed.
I don't think she's doomed yet. I think there's one of two ways that you could help us, and I would take whichever way you felt more comfortable. The first way would be not in person, but signing this document that another ally who sees things the way that we see things has gone ahead and filled out, but it is missing your authority, which would state that under your supervision and your rules, that Trillium could return to you as an employee for reformation, and this would potentially save her life. The caveat that I want to be transparent about is that it will come with a fine. It will come with a monetary fee, yet to be determined. I don't know what that is, but I would contribute to that. That's one way. The other way is if you felt safe in coming with me in person to the to the judgment court, to the court, not signing this yet, but stating that you would like Trillium to be able to return for reformation because she's critical to the success of your business. She knows it in and out. She's a good worker. And then you might be able to find out the fine ahead of time or before signing it. But I don't know what the fine is. I've never experienced anything like this. I've never gone to these in the past. So I could see it being either way. Either you signing and me going and speaking on your behalf as an elf, or you coming with us.
Seems like someone's been talking to Avery. Well, I don't want to see anything happen to Trillium, and I don't believe this trumped up charge. However, as I said, my position is delicate. If I am seen taking a bold stand in opposition to the will of the Empire, a lot of the good I have done in this city could be taken apart. I cannot appear with you in court. The other problem I have, and I hope you do not take this to be cold and heartless, but I spent 1,000 gold pieces to bring Trillium here, to buy her out of slavery, place her in this contract. While she is a productive worker, and while I care for her life is not at threat right now. And she still owes 950 gold pieces on her contract. If on top of that I am to be asked to take on a substantial fine, which for a violent crime has at times been as much as 1,000 or 2,000 gold pieces. It is not insignificant. My holdings are substantial. We do a great deal of business, but understand that that money means I could not free 3 other tabaxi from slavery. This is a difficult balance, a difficult decision to ponder. Now, if you can carry some of the weight financially, that would help. Or if you have another way to get Trillium out of the city, but I'm not saying no.
What if you signed your name, knowing that there will be a fine, and I found a way to buy out both Trillium's contract and Lily's contract and get them out of the city safely?
Lily. A moment. She turns and goes back to her desk, flips through some files, finds a piece of paper, looks at it, and comes back to you and says, Lily is one of my best. However, if you have a way of getting her safely and free, I would consider this. Trillium's contract, I cannot imagine why you would purchase at this time, but if your intentions are pure in this way, the contract is not worth what it once was. Lily still owes 700 gold pieces on her contract. Trillium 950. Could not possibly sell Trillium's contract at full price to anyone else while she is about to be punished. However, I know nothing about this becalming, as disturbing as it sounds. If you could come up with 1,000 gold pieces, I would sell both contracts to you immediately. Once my signature and yours are on those papers, you would be the formal owner of both contracts and be fully responsible for these 2 lives under the laws of the Empire. And at that point, you could represent them as well as I, though perhaps with slightly less political clout. Do you have 1,000 gold pieces on you?
I don't remember.
We might be able to get it.
We don't. That's why
Yes.
that's why we established the partnership.
Yeah. Well,
Or if you come to believe that there is no saving Trillium, as sadly I have, if you still wish to buy out Lily's contract, on the strength of your relationship and the trust I have in your intentions, I would release her to you for 600 gold pieces.
Can I have a moment to discuss with my colleagues?
Of course.
Step out
In fact,
for a moment.
I have several meetings.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
if you
Can
wouldn't
send
mind,
you
I
a-
appreciate you coming to me with this. I will be here in my offices all day.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll be back. All right, step out. I fist bumped Chetney on the way out.
Sup?
Sup? Dragon.
Face back on.
Yeah, good.
Face
good
back
call.
on. Okay, let's get out. So as we kind of discuss lowly around in the street, is there anyone around in the street as we're walking back?
Make a perception check.
Okay.
Do we each?
Anybody who's looking around?
Alright.
Good.
It's a D20, right?
That's right.
Yeah, okay. 13.
Okay. Yeah, there's people out and about. At this point, it's approaching noon. This is not a market day, but it is another busy day in Chakip. But you don't notice anyone in particular that seems to be paying extra attention to you.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just thinking, I don't think it's fair to ask contribution of money from anyone else in the party. But Wadi Wadi Hanzo did say that a favor is more valuable to him than money. And I would be willing. First of all, I'm down for both the jobs.
Is it even possible for us to do both jobs, though? It sounded like the dye job is time sensitive, possibly.
Yeah, I was going to ask Wadi Wadi Hanzo, because now I got to ask him for more.
Yeah.
If we could do the dye job and then work on the blackmail job. Because the blackmail seems to be, like, ongoing. So if we could do the dye
Yeah.
job and then
It'll
potentially
get us
the
to the
blackmail
mainland.
one.
That was my question too.
Yeah.
My only thing about that is if we get sidetracked on the mainland,
Right.
You know, in some way, and don't
Which
get
we
it.
tend to.
Yeah, which it's entirely possible. But doing that job does provide us a way to get both of the tabaxi
Right.
off of the island.
And then I would ask Wadi Wadi Hanzo if he would be willing to pay out both of their contracts in return for a favor.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't put any of you guys into that obligation, but I would, for myself, offer that favor.
I mean, I don't know if a favor from just you is enough for it, but a favor
It may
from the
not be.
group,
Yeah.
you know, probably would carry more weight.
I just don't know what that favor would be and how much it would
Compromise us.
compromise.
Yeah.
Just for some background, when
Yeah.
he mentioned that a favor was more valuable than money, in that case he was referencing a favor from a
A very
fairly influential
powerful-
noble
Yeah.
house. So
Before
having
himself.
the eldest son of House Ito
Right.
owe him
Right.
one was
I'm
worth
s-
more than a few hundred gold pieces to him.
I'm still going to ask because we have accomplished a lot for them.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah, maybe he'll have a deal for us that he would want us to do a few jobs. I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to go in on it. I know Air is a little distracted today. I don't know if Air is necessarily one that would always go straight along with this. And when Air comes to Air's senses, she may have something to say about that. However, what I think
There is money there. We're going to get money.
we're gonna get money there. Yeah, possibly. We could possibly see if we can do this dye job and it can go toward our bill to
Yeah.
Wali Wali Hanzo. Or to, yeah. Wali Wali Hanzo.
Hanum, how are you feeling? What are you thinking?
Well, I realize that this thought might ultimately be a department. It isn't a departure from the deep thoughts that I've shared with you before, but we're trying to save Trillium because Trillium is Lily's friend, yet Trillium is doomed. Meeks' words.
Right.
Trillium puts us into more of a debt than just us paying off Lily to a noble house that we ultimately just met a week ago.
Has it only been a week?
Yeah, that's about right.
Wow.
So
You got
yeah,
in
I
deep-
tend to agree.
With
I tend to
with
agree.
friends that I have also met a week ago. So, what are my thoughts? Ultimately, and I understand your deep friendship with Lily and wanting to help her, but it's starting to seem like we are overextending a credit that we
Don't have.
are not able to pay. And as much as I enjoy helping friends, we are selling ourselves into indentured servitude by helping these friends. So essentially, Padam Far is offering up his freedom to free someone who in their owner's words, is doomed.
So even if we do purchase the contract, there's still the whole thing of the 1,000 to 2,000 gold pieces of the fine that's on there, and who knows if Trillium would even ever be released to us to even take off, until that fine is paid.
And I currently
You know?
have 125 gold pieces, which
As
happens
do
to
I.
be mine.
I know.
Which happens to be mine.
I know.
So the thing is now I am going to owe thousands of gold pieces to a noble house in a town that I am not free to walk around in. It is just starting to seem sour, the entire thing. Lily, sure, let's get her out of here. Lily's friend, I'm sorry. And sometimes friends die.
And now we got our episode title again.
Sometimes friends die.
friends die.
Sometimes friends
I
die.
don't disagree. And I told Lily I would do all that I can do, right?
It seems like
Um,
we are doing far more than we can do at the moment.
Who should weigh in? Let's go talk to Lily and see what Lily has to
Okay.
say. I mean, I think we're talking about purchasing Lily's contract here, and Lily hasn't even weighed in.
yeah. Although I know just from like background, because it was part of like my
Yeah, your initial story.
that she wants out, right? So I know that she wants out, and she doesn't care if it's physically out. Like we talked about, like just getting her out. I don't know anything about Trillium. I don't know if Trillium has family here. I don't know any of that, right?
Well, and so to fill in some gaps, buying out Lily's contract would be an official way to get her out.
Right.
If you bought out her contract, you could put
There's
her
money.
on that ship as a public citizen, as
Right.
not a citizen,
Yeah.
but as a free tabaxi who could travel legally with papers
Yeah.
within the empire.
And that was our goal, so that she didn't have to keep running,
Right.
right? Like she didn't want a life of that.
But there is always the alternative, which she expressed a willingness to take on, especially when she felt like she had an ally in
Yeah.
this, which is just to go.
Yeah.
And in that case, she would be in a situation similar to where Freya found herself when she arrived on the island, where you're an undocumented
Yeah.
person in the empire, which is risky, but there's trade-offs.
Maybe we do go talk to Lily and just be honest with where we're at and see what Lily thinks.
Because maybe something could be done, as far as this, I'm with Potom at this point.
And I understand it, right? I totally understand it. I don't even really know Trillium, right? I know Lily. I just kind of feel like the unraveling of like everything around us.
If resources were not an issue, yes, saving all the little kitties would be a wonderful thing.
This
But
is what my husband
unfortunately-
tells me.
We don't have the resources.
This conversation sounds familiar.
I know, uncomfortably familiar.
And also, I need the mailman to bring the litter to the house. Because it's so heavy, I don't want to do it anymore.
Chewy.
Chewy. That's it, Chewy. Chewy.com.
Chewy is an official sponsor of Nerd Church.
The unofficial official sponsor.
Very unofficial right
Very
now.
unofficial.
I've not seen a check.
If Chewy would like to sponsor Nerd
Yes,
Church,
please. We will foster kittens while we play.
And we'll make a reference to Chewy in every episode.
Chewy.
Yeah.
.com.
No, I mean, I just, it seems to me it's prohibitive to take on Trillium, but I think that taking on Lily, buying out Lily's contract is a real thing that we could possibly do. What I would like to know from Wally Alejandro is how time sensitive is the delivery of these dies? Would we be able to help him with his blackmail issue first? And then go and do the dies? Do we
The
make
blackmail
enough money?
situation didn't seem to have any specific timeline on
Because
it.
it's like ongoing, but
Yeah.
the die
Yeah.
does, right?
The ship,
die is.
the ship that with the die is arriving tomorrow.
And needs to
getting like reloaded,
Yeah.
and then is going like that night.
Okay.
So basically, like, you'll be out of here tomorrow night if
Gotcha.
you decide to take on that work.
I really think that we should consider taking that on.
Agreed.
And is it possible for us to purchase Lily's contract prior to going, or is that something that we're going to have to do a job first? You know, and then just knowing that we have the possibility, you know, it's not time sensitive to purchase Lily's contract necessarily. But I really, speaking as a person who has lived a tragic 4-day life of undocumentation, and the fear that goes along with that and the other, I would absolutely be willing to help you purchase Lily's contract and
Thank you.
and get her.
And now that I
out.
know Meeks's intentions, which seemed very true, Meeks could then use that money, hopefully. Not that it's great buying somebody and owning them, but getting them maybe out of a worse situation.
Well, again, to just be very clear, what Meeks has done with most of her employees here in Chukib is she has purchased them out of literal slavery,
Right.
and asked them to repay what she paid
Yeah.
to acquire them. So it's a small step, but an important distinction,
Yeah.
I think, between
Indentured.
true slavery and indentured servitude. And unlike many others who pretend that they're honoring an indentured servitude contract, there's plenty of nobles here who don't believe in slavery but have indentured
Right.
servants, but just constantly stack additional costs and fines or don't give them
Right.
opportunities to pay off their contract. Meeks has done that for many
Good.
people.
And Pando is recognizing that when she used to just be very black and white about everything, is recognizing that that's just that it's too complex here in the Empire to think that way.
Basically, Meeks is one of these, kind of like Wari Wari Hanzo, who has decided to work within the system as best she can and has carved out a safe space for herself to do that, is not pushing the envelope, but
Sure.
is trying to chip away and do what she thinks she can without taking big risks.
Okay.
So we headed back to talk to Lily.
Yeah, let's go back and back to the scratching post.
Just before we get there, I would probably keep this conversation from Lily. I don't think that
Telling her
if
all the
she
details.
understood that there was a chance to save her friend, that your friendship might continue.
I think what we're seeing is that there is not a possibility for us to be able to do that. You know, just because financially it just we don't have the means to be able to do it straight out.
it's
If
difficult.
I had it, I would.
It's putting
In a
us
heartbeat.
it's putting us in the exact same position that she is in. It is setting
Right.
both of them free, and it is putting us in their place.
If we could even make that happen,
Right.
If we could even
which,
They might
which I'm
still
saying,
say no.
what
no.
what we
So
go down
ultimately-
to with Lily is that it's not possible. We don't have the
Yeah.
money and we can't get it.
But we have spent the last several days trying, which
Yeah.
is exactly what we said we would do.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I would just even keep the possibility or hope out of her ears.
Okay, let's head down there.
All right, you arrive at the scratching post. It is just after the lunch rush has died down, and you find Lily bussing tables near the back. And she sees you as you walk in and gives you a little nod, like I'm back here.
We'll just let you update Lily. Here, give her the rundown quick. You give her the rundown.
So I give her the rundown, adhering Padam's advice. I don't get into any of the details of the possibilities, but I do let her know that collectively we have spent time trying to find a way, and we haven't found a way. And so I let her know that. I also want to have a conversation with Lily about where she's at, And I don't want to give her all the details of it because I just, for her protection and safety, I don't want her to have like a ton of information that could potentially come back to get her in trouble or hurt her. But as we are best friends, I can ask her if she has any interest in potentially leaving before her contract is bought out. I just want to see where she's at in that, because she made it clear before that she doesn't want a life of running in fear.
So, Lily's response to this, first of all, is to pull you into one of the quiet booths near the back, and to kind of give a look to one of her co-workers to give you some space. She basically says, "I'm scared, Pando. Things are moving really fast. And it doesn't feel safe to be a tabaxi in this city right now. It's only by luck that it's Trillium instead of me in those stocks right now. We were working the same shift. And this is a totally invented charge. Could have been any of us. So, no, I don't want to spend the rest of my life on the run. But I want to have a life. I don't know how to answer your question. I don't have the resources to run even if I wanted to, much less do it officially. But we've been talking about this for years, and it never seemed in reach. So I'm not going to start dreaming now, just because it's scary.
Pando comforts her friend. I do want you to dream. I don't want you to lose hope. But I did want to know what you were thinking. And so stay here. Don't do anything different for right now. My friends and I are going to have a conversation and figure some things out. But stay close and make sure that I know where you are and how to find you.
Fair enough. I don't own much, so I can pack quickly.
Just her little kitten toys.
Just one ball of yarn and a little bell. That's all.
That one's under the cabinet. Help.
Okay, so with that, you have a matter of just a few hours before the court will be in session. Is there anything else you want to accomplish? And let me ask, is it your intention to be present at the court proceedings?
I mean, if we're not gonna, if we've all decided that it doesn't make sense, it's out of our financial realm, we're gonna become indentured servants ourselves. It's high risk to be visible. I don't know that there's a point to go now. And maybe while the whole town is distracted there, we could take advantage of that in some way.
And slip out. So if we send a messenger up the hill that we're taking the dye job, maybe we can receive word back with specific instructions and get on a ship getting out of town while everyone is distracted with...
Are you still wearing your mask right now?
It doesn't matter. My voice doesn't change.
No,
oh.
I'm just wondering if you are.
Oh, we're back at the scratching post, so
Yeah.
I'm sure I took it off.
We only have one?
Yep.
You gonna wear it on the ship?
I don't see why I would need to.
So we have an unused mask that we're still borrowing?
Oh.
Do we really want to do that to Meeks, though? We
And-
legitimately could
No.
buy out Lily's contract.
But
Oh, you're talking about
could we?
like 600, right? I mean, we'll
I
do
don't
the
think
job.
I don't-
7.
I don't think that we have enough.
No,
she
we
offered.
don't.
She offered to sell you Lily's contract for 600.
For 600. So, but no, this is what I'm saying is that we go and do the dye job, and then, you know, gets us all out, out for a little while. But then we can come back, and we should have enough money by the time we come
Even
back.
without without
Or-
air, we would have enough money because we would each take 100 gold piece cut from that, and
Then we all
I
have
currently am
600,
sitting
three
on
of us.
on 100. Yeah, I would
And
imagine
frankly,
both of you are
Air
sitting on the same
owes
amount.
owes us a little bit of money too for this
Yeah.
other thing that's happening.
What if
I also do not think that we should go down there. I am highly worried about this Nips situation.
Yeah.
I'm worried. I'm preoccupied about Nips. I want Nips with me, but I am also worried.
I mean, in
about
the week
fact-
you've been here, that's been like your strongest nemesis.
Right.
So.
But I am worried about the whole situation.
I have a suggestion of how we get word up the hill that we'd like to take the dye job, details coming back, and a way for you to get your revenge.
Even if I just say, "Ha, here's the thing." Can I just say this really quick though,
Sure.
as I've been trying to say this? I don't think that we're giving enough thought or to the fact that Nips has been taken for fencing our hot items. You know, what else do they know around? And you know, like, is this going to come back to us in some, you know? It is motivation also to get out of the way and let things cool down a little bit. You know, I'd like to, obviously Nell knows that things were sold, so, and she threw the money, you know, through, you know, we got our payment or whatever for that little side job. But where are we at with that? You know? So I don't necessarily want to show myself down there unless I'm wearing the mask. And
Well, so here's the plan. So that you put the mask on, you go up the hill, you say we want to take the dye job, you get the details of the dye job, you stop at the square on the way back, you happen to be wearing the mask,
Slap
but
Nips.
you can give Nips a little slap around, maybe reveal who you are, and the whole fact that you're not doing anything to save her. Maybe if she would have been nicer. Meh. But
yeah, well, I thought about that with there, but I don't know. I'll think about that, but I'm happy to go up the hill. No, I need
well,
to.
we could send a messenger up the hill. You don't even have to go anywhere.
Let's send a messenger up the hill.
We'll send a messenger up the hill to say yes to the job and gain details back of where we need to be and when, but also that we would like to leave now.
Okay. You can do that,
But the
but again, as a reminder, the ship is not scheduled to even arrive in
until
Chukip
tomorrow.
until tomorrow, at which point it has to be unloaded and reloaded,
Right.
and then you're meant to ship out with it. So you can want to leave earlier all you please, but the ship isn't physically here.
Okay, well, then we'll leave off the now part. As my friends remind me, we can't leave until tomorrow.
Until on the morrow.
Can I also send a
Dawn
message to
Meeks.
Yeah.
I'll take a silver piece off.
sounding just legit like a business deal, saying I'm very interested in purchasing the contract of your Tabaxi Lily, and I will have funds soon to complete this.
Okay.
I think that that's also something that we should probably put into our message about possibly having them purchase Lily's contract and allowing us to pay it off for them with
Yeah.
Wally Wally Hanzo.
So I think
Or is that overly
intuitively you
complicated?
would be anxious about if you just hand this note to a courier and it's like your formal cover story for your conversation with Wadi Wadi Hanzo, low risk, right?
Yeah.
Which was the whole point of him having a separate cover story for you. If you start putting other information in about favors or
Yeah.
can we borrow money for you, things like that,
I might as well
there's
go
a
up the
risk
hill.
to that, which you can take, but I just want to be clear that there is a risk to that.
I think
Yeah.
I think it's worth it for me to take the mask and go up the hill. I'm ready to go somewhere. I'll take the mask and do that.
Okay.
Cool.
just to discuss all these things in
Yep, that's
person.
fine.
And
you still have the same invitation, so you can march up the hill
Okay.
fairly confident.
put on the mask and I march up the hill
All right, so
with all of Freya's confidence, now in the lithe form of an elf.
love it. So up the hill you go and find yourself back at the gate outside the Hanzo estate. You knock and are greeted in a similar way. The elderly elf seems surprised to be handed the same invitation again on the same day, and almost seems to question for a moment if this did happen or didn't happen. Is this happening again?
That's great.
But then lets you in. Wari Wari Hanzo is in his office at his desk writing as you are escorted in, and he looks up and says, "Pardon?"
I take off the mask. No, Freya.
Hello, my
Sorry,
friend.
I didn't want to be so conspicuous coming up the hill, so I just used the mask.
Of course, I'm pleasantly surprised to see you back so soon. What can I
Yeah.
do for you?
Well, I just instead of sending a messenger, I just wanted to touch base with what some of our decisions have been. We don't see a way forward with helping Trillium from our particular perspective. We're hoping to use the advocate as much as possible. I don't think, given all the money that's in there, we are incredibly worried about Trillium, but we're not. We don't see a way through. And I sniff, and cold tendrils come out, and we are interested in accepting your offer to escort the die
Splendid.
there. So we are staying down at the scratching post. We'll await instruction on what to do there. We are also purchasing the contract of another tabaxi that Meeks owns. We're in the process of doing that. I guess this would be a good opportunity to take her off the island also, if we were to be able to fulfill our financial obligation of paying off her contract prior. Is there a possibility that we could have make some deal where in doing this job and delivering this die, we could have some of our money in advance to be able to pay off Lily's, to be able to pay off the contract and bring her along with us.
Interesting.
She would be a real asset to our team too. Coming.
Mixes a mean drink.
Yeah.
Well, I don't find it altogether unfair to pay you some advance. You are taking on a substantial risk and traveling on my behalf. What were you thinking?
Oh, you have 125 too. What do you have in there?
I didn't convert mine, but maybe I should just to make it easier. So
Platinum is worth 10 gold.
So I have 120 plus 45 gold.
120 plus 45 gold.
Yeah.
I've got
165?
120 plus 35 gold.
Yeah, Air isn't gonna. we're
Okay.
not counting on Air to
Fair.
throw anything in.
Oh, it converts it for me, 165 gold.
165
Well, that's simple
gold.
math.
And
I think I'm going to convert it.
125.
125, and I have 125. So how much is that?
So
300.
250, 354. You've got about 415.
Or
You
15.
pooled all your resources.
Would
Air.
we be able to get like 250 in advance?
Make a persuasion check.
$19.
Ooh, you saved a good roll.
I did.
this one.
Well, I have a
Blew-
+3 on persuasion.
Blew through all those 4s and 7s
Right.
on perception checks.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to even think about it that long.
Mm-hmm.
He says, well, yes, that's not unreasonable. You've proven to be trustworthy, and certainly if you have vested interest in the things that are happening in this city, I would expect to see you back to collect the remainder of your payment, and if for some reason you're unable to return, well, as long as my die arrives, we will still benefit. Yes, of course.
Okay.
I will ensure that the captain of the vessel no, you need it immediately, don't you?
We do.
Of course. Victor! He's terribly hard of hearing. Just a moment. Victor! He gets up and hustles out into the hallway, continuing to yell for his valet, Victor. And a short time later, Victor comes back to the office without Wadi Wadi Hanzo and hands you a pouch containing 25 platinum pieces. And he says, the master will say his goodbyes at the front gate. And then he sort of toddles off.
Okay.
And as you head out, you see that Wadi Wadi has made his way out into the lawn of the estate and is waiting near the gate. And as you approach, he says, don't forget,
Putting that on.
do take care of your friends and go safely. Tomorrow morning, head down to the docks, speak with Nell. They can direct you to our ship. It will be loading for much of the day, but I sense there's some urgency for you to depart. And so the moment that the last crate is on board, tell the captain, I will tell the captain, that they have my permission to set sail. When you return safely with the chest of gold due to us for this shipment, you have a formal invitation waiting for you to come back and deliver it directly here to the estate. Victor will know that it's you, so fear not. Although you, of course, may want to come like this. Again, I want to be clear, there is some risk in this mission, so please be careful. I know you're capable, but the last shipment we lost, which is why I need a capable group of escort to take care of it. I do wish you well with your friends. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you. Okay, I'm masked up. I run on back down. As I'm going by the square, how are things progressing?
So it is getting to be late afternoon, and at this point, it is busy down here. So the first thing that you notice is that the stage is fully set. It has transformed from just a wooden platform to now a fairly flamboyant display of imperial colors. So it is a raised stage. There is a large table and essentially like a big hefty podium, kind of like you would see in a courtroom where the judge would sit, kind of up in a platform. And it is draped in the gold and white of the imperial colors, the gold and white of the Dawn Emperor, with the symbol of the Emperor's Justice, which is the symbol of the magistrate, hanging across the front of it. The benches that have been pulled out for spectators are packed. There are 200 people here probably already. It's already standing room only. And the last thing you notice is that every one of the stocks is now full. There are 11 prisoners in the stocks on display. And there's one more familiar face that you see in the stocks. They're a very large set of stocks to hold a very large minotaur
I was wondering.
named Clef.
Yeah.
Clef the Harbor Master is in the stocks now, along with out of all 11, 10 of them are non-elves, mostly Tabaxi. The only elf you see is the sort of ragged clothed elf that was there earlier.
Well, that makes sense now. Nell pulled a little coup, sold some people out, and it was a pretty good thing that we used Nips, because we may have been the ones in the stocks
Right.
had we not used Nips to go through there and had gotten sold out by Nell.
Mel,
right.
Mel played the game pretty successfully.
She
it appears.
did, and I think we escaped pretty successfully. I'm hoping we did anyway. I'd like to go down and you're right. So actually, I do want to. Would it be possible for me to kind of sneak down on the Minotaur side?
Oh, sure. In fact, sneaking isn't really necessary.
Oh, I mean, just
there are
the-
lots of people here, and many of them are in the faces of these prisoners.
Oh, okay.
Jeering at them, throwing, like, it's like a
Rotten
festival
fruit.
atmosphere
Yeah.
here. Yeah, so like there's snacks and stuff. People are not polite to the prisoners in the stocks. They're having some fun with this. By the way, I'll also say you recognize quite a few. Actually, no, you weren't there. Never mind.
I wasn't where.
You weren't at the council meeting,
Oh no, I wasn't.
so you wouldn't recognize anyone from there.
But I could make an assumption that there's plenty of people from Rising Dawn that are around in here. I've heard tell of the red-haired elf, and
He's here.
oh yeah,
Rostero Fane is
Yes,
here and obvious. He is up
Yes.
near the front, talking to groups of people, making the rounds near the stage, glad handing with council members. He is a very visible presence here.
Can I make a perception check here? Just around. I am in disguise. It would be good for me to kind of. I'd like to investigate just a little bit more. What is what they may know, either Nips or the Minotaur
Okay.
here, just about are we in danger?
You want to
Would
talk to
I-
Clef?
Yeah, I want to talk to him.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go down.
What do you say to Clef?
Clef.
First of all, Clef looks extremely hungover. Like, it almost looks like withdrawal symptoms.
Oh man.
He is green, sallow-eyed, shaky. He looks terrible. And this is a huge dude, as we've talked about.
I'm standing definitely to the side.
Smart. Yeah, you don't want to be in the line of fire.
I don't want to smell his breath.
When this
either.
guy loses it.
Yes, from either end.
But he, oh
So-
jeez. But you spend an afternoon throwing fish in front of this guy.
Yeah.
He almost looks like noticeably smaller than he was when you were with him. He looks in rough shape.
Hey, Minotaur. This is not a good spot for you to be. Don't I know you from down at the docks?
Yes. Don't talk so loud.
So what brought you here? How did you get here?
A filthy knoll set me up. Lies and forged documents. It's all a bunch of false pretense. Oh, stop talking so loud, Clef.
Would you say that this possibly had to do with some merchandise that may have moved?
When you say that, he looks over at Nips and then looks back at you and says, "Your face looks familiar. Do I know you from somewhere?"
I don't think that you would have. This face looks familiar?
Yeah,
No.
weirdly familiar. Anyway, what do you know about it?
No, I'm just wondering if you have any associates.
Doesn't feel that way.
No.
Feels like I got abandoned by everyone I thought was my associate.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know what that. Good luck. Good luck to you, Minotaur. I don't think that we'll be crossing paths again.
Gods, you talk loud.
I'm sneaking down by Nips now. Nips. All right. It's a shame. It's a damn shame. Damn feline.
Who are you? And why is there an endless parade of idiots coming to talk to me?
You have missed the grandest opportunity to fight the grandest foe that you ever had because of your stupidness.
What?
You don't need to know what you have lost, you stupid cat.
I think the sun is getting to me.
Yeah.
What are you even saying?
I think you have coming to you what has been coming to you. And I lift up my mask a little bit and pull it back down.
Okay.
Nobody's gonna believe you.
Make a sleight of hand check.
Okay.
Because just to remind everybody how these masks work,
Oh,
they create a full body illusion.
I thought it was
That-
just the face.
Oh no.
Well, no, but it
When
creates
you
a full
have
body
the mask
illusion.
on, there is an illusion that covers your whole body that makes you appear to be a generic 6 foot tall blonde elf man with leather armor and a short
So
sword.
I can't just peek like
And
that.
if you take it off, that illusion goes away. Now, if you take it off for a half second, what happens is
But there's a lot of people there. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So I can't just peek out from under the mask.
Let's find out what happens
Let's
when you
find
take it
out.
off for just a
let's
second.
find what happens. Make
No.
a sleight of hand
No,
check, please.
but I guess I'm not completely understanding what I'm doing.
Yeah,
then
no, that's
here.
clear. So make a sleight of hand check. Because now I'm really curious.
11.
11. Okay. For a split second, this elf disappears, and in his place is a 7 foot tall, sparkling silver scaled dragonborn. And then just as suddenly, the elf is back. And for Nips, this is a big moment because Nips instantly recognizes you. And her fur stands on end and she hisses and even tries to claw at you, but can't reach. And is spitting and hissing and so mad that she can't even talk. Most of the rest of the people around you don't notice this happen.
Most.
But someone notices. It's a maybe 8-year-old boy
Okay.
standing next to you who is now just staring like this with very wide eyes and kind of goes in front of his own face and then nudges his friend next to him and goes, "Tell me you saw that." And his friend goes, "What?" "I'm telling the Blades." And then he runs away.
Well, I'm going to flee.
Okay. All right. Fair.
I'm just gonna make my way through the crowd and flee down.
All right. Prioritizing speed or stealth.
Stealth.
Okay, make a stealth check.
And as I go, 9. I'm just not stealthy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Say
it's
there's a
very
crowd of
similar.
people and you're wearing a generic mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you sort of muscle your way through the crowd, and as you get to the edge, and you're about to kind of clear the crowd and come out to head down the street, around the corner, out of sight, you turn, and over your shoulder you see the boy, who's holding the arm of a blade and pointing at you.
Great.
And talking really animatedly and going. And the blade looks at you,
I just nod at the blade.
okay? And the blade looks back down at the boy, cuffs him across the back of the head, and walks back towards the court proceedings. And the boy throws a fit, points at you. "I know what I saw." and then runs off. And you make your escape.
Great, we'll be seeing that boy in 26 episodes.
Right?
New nemesis. He's the new Nips.
I have to skedaddle.
Yeah.
No problem.
Oh,
Let's-
well,
you.
but let me just tell you really fast.
Yes.
I got money. We can buy Lily.
Woo!
I got 250 gold pieces in advance for our payment, and I thought maybe
Incredible.
we can each throw in 100 if Padam is willing. And I just feel like we need to have a little bit of gold in reserve.
Yes.
So you can purchase Lily's contract.
Thank
So I'm going to give you that 100 right now,
And I gave you that 100 right now.
So
and the
that's
250.
450 gold pieces that have now come into your account.
That
your
I
purse.
will then
Yeah.
go.
You'll add to your own money
Yep.
and spend 600 to buy Lily's contract.
Yep.
So I think where we will pick up next time we play is still
Did
the
Air give as well, or no?
Air did not.
Okay, that's totally on brand. I
Yep.
just
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, we-
we
we-
weren't depending on Aaron.
And
Yeah.
if Air decides later to help, cool. But you've got enough
Yep.
now to buy Lily's contract. So where we will pick up next time is, well, you will get to choose. You can either go to Lily and tell her what you're doing, or you could go straight to Meeks and get this done. But we'll open there.
Okay.
Same day, still court day.
Yes.
Court has not happened yet. So it is near approaching dusk where we will hit pause for tonight.
Okay.